Okay, in this example, let's try something a little different. First one, we were underexposed. Second one, we're overexposed. Now we're way too far away. This was when I was testing the RF800. But I think it serves to show what can be done and how far you can push the image, even when it's a little farther away. Would it have been better if this nest was pretty hard to get to, or this particular tree? So let's give it a try. So here's the original image, and here we are cropped in. So let's take a look at how far that crop is. So it's quite a bit. So we're going from the full image, and don't forget this is on the Canon R5, so you're talking about an 8K image. We're going into 835 by 835, and if we zoom in on this, you can see there's quite a bit of grain. We don't have it's soft here, and we have the potential for detail here in the head, but not really there. So let's see what we can do with this image. All we did to it was took down the highlights a very little bit, maybe a little texture and clarity. Probably didn't need to do that because we're going to do quite a bit of that over in Photoshop. Again, we took the sharpening off and chromatic aberration in the lens profile. So let's see what that looks like when we take it into Photoshop. Here's the final version of it, and here is what we start with. So let's see how we got there. So starting with the base image, this time I am going to run denoise on it the first time. So that's what we did. So let's just take a look at what that did in the background. There is the original image, and after running denoise, you can see it took out just an incredible amount of all this noise in the sky. Now we're still left with a soft image here, but we'll work on that. And this is a perfect place for using the unsharp mask technique we talked about before. So running that, and we'll disable. There's the mask we're going to build, but it's too much to do. As I had said before, it's just too much to do it on the whole image. And so what we want to do is here it is applied to the whole image, and you can see that one of the things that's happening is not only is it too much, although we're getting detail back here, we are getting noise over here in the sky, which we'll have to fix later on. And we're going to make that even worse as we go forward here. So, putting the mask back on, you can see that what we did was just paint in that unsharp mask just on the head of the bird. So backing out a little bit, you can see that made a difference there. Our next step was just to add some overall contrast. Again, trying to just get more contrast in here and bring out some of that detail. Now, unfortunately, we darkened the bird, but we'll fix that in the next step. Also, it's starting to turn very yellow over here. So we did a hue saturation correction, and while it was right near sunset, we took some of that yellow out of there. Use the burn tools to put use the burn tools to try and put some more detail in there. So there you can see it made a little bit of an impact, particularly down in here. Did another levels adjustment. This time we were targeting the darks in the image. So we used a luminosity mask, which we won't go into today. Basically, you can see that what it does to the image is it brought up all this that was dark down at the bottom and really brightened that up. And we could even take it a little farther if we wanted to. But so how did we do that? It's about selecting a mask using the darks. There are the darks in the image chosen using a luminosity mask. I happen to use the Tony Kuiper version, but there are other versions out there. What that does is allow you to select different tonal ranges and then apply whatever the correction is. And so in this case, we lighten that up a little bit. Now we'll stamp that, make a copy of everything, all the changes we've made, come up to this layer, and we're going to apply the Topaz sharpening model to it. And again, we're going to use stabilize. So I'm going to zoom in here on the eye. And first of all, look at the noises over here that didn't get taken out the first time through. So we're going to have to correct that. And using a stabilize again, as we did in our earlier example, you can see that it makes a pretty good change in the sharpness. It's still not quite where I'd like it, but it's pretty good. So there it is with, there it is with, there it is without, there it is with, there it is without. So a nice increase. But as I said originally, back out for a moment here, this image is only 800 by 800, and so this is a perfect image where you've done all this. It's still holding together pretty well. We have this noise issue over here, and so in the next step, we're going to run the gigapixel plugin from Topaz, and here's the result of that, which you're not going to see a whole lot, but in the close-up you'll see the difference. And I think we enlarged this 4 times, so we're up into the 3000 range rather than 800, and you'll be able to see that we really increased the sharpness of the image. So our next step is to fix all this noise we introduced over here in the sky, and we want to first create a mask. So let's back out of this and show you the mask. And the mask again is very simple. It is again using that same technique where we're just using, again up here, select sky. Takes a second. Let's just look at what it does. And there's your sky mask. So we're going to leave it this way. We're not going to invert it this time. So we're protecting the bird and the tree. So just for the time being, let's move back a layer where all this problem existed so we can use it as an example. I'm going to take the brush tool, soft brush of the appropriate size. We're going to sample the color. So you use the Alt key on the PC or Option key. The eyedropper comes up, we sample the color, and then we're going to be painting in the blue sky and erasing any of the noise. And you have to keep sampling, so when you back out, you want to make sure that this one's pretty consistent, but if it's not, you're going to have to do multiple samples as you move around and correct that. Now, how do we paint around all these trees? Well, that's the purpose of the mask. So let's see if we can drag this mask down here. So with the mask there, you can see that we can paint right up. Depending on the quality of the mask, you're not going to get anything. So it's just like coloring in the lines, except it can't go over the line. It prevents you from going over the line. So this is the completed layer. Let's get rid of that. Back out, and you can see that as we look around here, we've corrected all these areas. Again, it's a lot harder when the background is not even, but you just have to do more sampling You have to blend it. It's just really like painting. So it's quite a powerful technique for taking away objects you don't want. If you had a branch coming up here, it's almost as easy to just use the brush tool, sample the color around it, paint it out as it is to use content-aware fill. So let's move on to the final. So in the last step, we're going to turn the image into a smart object, then go up under filter and apply our camera raw filter, which again is similar to Lightroom. And all we're going to do is lighten up these branches here on the Norfolk Island pine by just going into the luminance sliders and moving up the yellows and the greens. And so here's the difference that change makes. You can see quite a bit of brightness added into those. Bill does brighten up a little bit here. And that's basically it. And that's the image. So again, we've gone from a soft image to a rather sharp image, and at quite a distance. So while it might not be a contest image, it does make it a very serviceable image, certainly fine for printing at the 3800 by 3800. And we restored a lot of this detail here in the white's head of the bald eagle.